Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called Baked in Brooklyn. The movie begins with a man by the name of David. He takes the stage in front of an audience. He is a little bit nervous and tells them about his new book about the time he sold weed. He specifies that even though he doesn't like weed, he opens his book and starts reading it, telling us his story. Last summer, he was working at a consulting firm. It was a crappy job, but that's what his parents wanted. On the weekends he party a lot, meeting girls is hard, but one night he met that one girl, Kate. David gets nervous when Kate approaches him. He starts rambling, overthinking everything, but she makes him shut up and pushes him to dance. Right after that little dance, they start making out in David's room, but Kate stops, because she has a boyfriend. It's a long-distance relationship. David tries to convince to still have fun, but she still refuses. He then wants to call her a taxi, but Kate wants to sleep in his bed tonight. The next day, David is back at work. His friend Joe texts what happened with the girl last night. He replies she has a boyfriend, but he really likes her. Joe then invites him to another party tonight. The party arrives and David feels bored and lonely. So he calls Kate. He invites her to come over so they can hang out. Days go by and both do a bunch of activities together. They get closer and closer. This makes David happier. One day, his mom asks about any girlfriend he may have. He feels weird talking to her about that. The next day, Kate texts David that she broke up with her boyfriend. He immediately invites her to move into his room. Hearing that, his friends wonder if it's a good idea to have her with them. David believes this will get him and her closer. Once at work, David's boss takes him aside and announces him he is fired. He has to leave by today. David is shocked. He gets home and doesn't tell his parents about it. He pretends all is fine, that he still have some jobs. Thoughts then start running through David's mind as he keeps looking at the weed logo. He then gets an idea. He goes to withdraw all his cash to buy weed. Once Kate gets home, he announces to her that he wants to be selling weed. She is having a hard time believing it. The next day, two guys called by his friend Elise arrive to have a meeting with David. He gives him all his cash and they give him the weed. He also asks what do they call it in slang. They tell him green kush. The men then get a serious talk with David. They understand he will be selling it to other people instead of keeping. They want him to keep his mouth shut, no telling his life story to people, because if anything goes wrong, they will pop him. Once they leave, David doesn't waste a second and buys all the necessary tools such as scale, bags, etc. He texts all his friends and 2 hours later, no one answers. David is now rethinking his new business venture. Kate informs him that if he gets caught, it will be on his record and no jobs will want to hire him. She then shows him a couch she wants to buy, but David uses this opportunity to find out that on this website people are looking for green kush. He emails them all and late gets angry, saying if anything happens she has nothing to do with it. Literally 5 seconds later, his phone starts blowing and he goes to deliver to his first client. He is so stressed, worrying she is a cop. But she takes him aside and he gives the product. She tells him she will need it every day, so they set up to meet every day at noon for the exchange. More texts are coming and David delivers through the entire city of New York. It goes so fast that he buys more from his supplier. One day, he arrives at a fancy apartment to do one of his deliveries. A man by the name of Jeff buys from him. David realizes how nice is the apartment and Jeff tells him it's a gift from his dad. Jeff offers him to smoke, but David says he has more deliveries. In reality he sells it but doesn't want to smoke it. Minutes later, a businessman pushes him to jump into his car and offers him to smoke too. But David says he can't. The businessman realizes David doesn't look like the typical seller. He likes him and offers a lot more money, wishing him luck. David uses this money to buy a new bike. His clientele is getting bigger. He gets richer and happier by the day. One night, Kate takes David to a restaurant where all his friends surprise him for his birthday. David is totally flattered but also in a weird mood. Kate wonders what's going on and he tells her he took some of her sleeping pills. She reveals to him those were not sleeping pills. His speech comes and because he is high, he delivers a weird paragraph which makes everyone silent. He even falls asleep. Everyone feels disrespect. The next morning, David comes late at Mike's practice. Even worse, 2 minutes into it, He gets another order and he has to leave. Mike had enough and tells him to seriously think how this is affecting his relationships. He even screams, "Have you even talked to your girlfriend?" Days go by again and one night, David finds Kate on the verge going out. She is surprised that she is going out by herself. The next day, David is delivering for Jeff again and this time they get to hang out a little bit. Jeff tells him they are hiring new writers at his job as it's David's true passion. He will show his work to his boss. David then goes to deliver to another customer, but this time, the doorman wants some but doesn't pay him. He threatens him with a camera pointing at it. Later that night, David goes to meet Ace to buy more. But a cop puts him against the wall. David gets scared but Ace tells him it's a prank. He gets pissed and come home ranting to his girlfriend about his bad day. Kate tells him he knew stuff like that would happen when he decided to do this. She announces that she spoke to Mike. They all agree this new job is making impossible to spend any time with him. He spends more time with his customers and sells it in the most public way possible. But David loves what he does. She screams at him, "We used to spend more time together. Now I spend more time with your roommate." She can't do this anymore. But David convinces her he will try his best. So she tells him Thursday at 7 p.m. take me to dinner. Thursday then arrives and before the dinner, David makes a delivery to an old man who invites him inside. He wants him to stay and party, but David let him know he has to go. The old man offers him some pills, he accepts and they spend the night partying. Meanwhile, the poor Kate is alone at the restaurant waiting for David. The next day, David wakes up to a message of Kate saying to go screw himself, she moved back with her parents. Days go by and David is continuing his routine of selling through the city. One night, he delivers to Jeff who tells him his boss will not be hiring him as a writer. He closes the door on him. The next day, David gets more from Ace and right as he leaves they get arrested by undercover cops. Elise then calls David saying that Ace thinks he's told the cops about him so Ace is looking for him. David gets paranoid especially that his bike gets stolen. That same night, Ace and his men jump him. David begs he didn't do anything. But they end up beating him up. The next day, David decides to stop this business. He rides miles to Kate's parents. She is shocked to see him. He tells her he missed her and that he stopped doing this business. At this moment her ex-boyfriend comes out and David understands it's too late. But he still kisses her in front of him. The movie ends with the boyfriend chasing him. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other movie summaries we have on our channel.